Okay, be honest. How many of you have had that thought? That middle of the night, heart-pounding fear that maybe, just maybe, medical science got it wrong. That the unthinkable could happen. You're not screaming because you're having a nightmare. You're screaming because you're awake. And you're 6 feet under. This wasn't just a plot for Edgar Allan Poe. For people in the 18th and 19th centuries, this was a genuine, widespread terror. It was called Taphephobia, the fear of being buried alive. And this fear created one of the most bizarre and chilling chapters in history, the era of the safety coffin. Let's set the scene. Medicine was, to put it mildly, pretty primitive. Determining death wasn't an exact science. Doctors would check for a pulse, hold a mirror to the mouth, but in an age of cholera plagues and strange fevers, mistakes happened. And boy did the story spread. The wealthy woman exhumed to be found with her shroud torn to ribbons, her fingers bloody from scratching at the lid. The man whose skeleton was discovered in a horrifying upside-down position, suggesting he woke up and tried to escape. Were these tales true? Mostly probably not. But the fear was 100% real. It was a cultural panic, fed by sensational news reports and Gothic literature. People were genuinely terrified of waking up in a box in the dark with no way out. So, what do you do when you're scared of your own funeral? You get inventive. You demand a solution. And inventors of the era were more than happy to cash in on the paranoia. This is where things get seriously macabre and honestly a little genius. The first safety coffins were basic. The early models focused on communication. The idea was simple: run a tube from the coffin up to the surface. Attached to the top of this tube would be a bell. The corpse would be buried with a string tied to their finger. If they woke up, they'd pull the string, the bell would ring, and a watchman stationed in the graveyard would come to the rescue. Hence the phrase, saved by the bell. Yeah, that's where it comes from. It's not just a boxing term, it's a relic from when people were literally worried about being buried alive. But inventors quickly realized a bell wasn't enough. What if the watchman fell asleep? What if it was raining? They started adding features. One design included a flag that would pop up out of the ground like a morbid whack-a-mole. Another had a ladder built into the lid, just in case you had the presence of mind to climb your way out. My personal favorite? The glass window. That's right, a little porthole installed right over the face so loved ones could come down and check on you. For a few days. Just to be sure. Imagine being that graveyard keeper, making your nightly rounds, peeking into a coffin window to see if grandma was still decomposing properly. It's horrifying. But the absolute peak of this safety coffin insanity was the design that provided not just communication but sustenance. This one was a full-blown survival system. It came equipped with a tube for food and water. Because if you're going to be mistakenly buried, you might as well have a snack while you wait for help, right? It even had a periscope-like device so you could look out and see what was happening on the surface. Talk about a room with a view. Now you're probably thinking, did any of this actually work? Was anyone ever actually saved by one of these things? The honest answer is, it's incredibly unlikely. There are a few unverified stories. One account tells of a man who was indeed awakened by the bell he'd installed, saving his life. But most historians are super skeptical. The practical problems are overwhelming. First, the bell system relies on someone being there 24/7, listening for a ring from one specific grave. Graveyards are big. Second, soil is heavy. Even if you could ring the bell, the amount of dirt on top of the coffin would make it almost impossible for the sound to travel clearly. And that food tube? It would have probably just filled with dirt or insects. These coffins were a brilliant solution to a psychological fear, but they were pretty useless against the brutal physics of being underground. So why did they fade away? Well, science finally caught up. The stethoscope was invented, giving doctors a much more reliable way to listen for a heartbeat. Embalming became more common practice, especially in the United States. And let's be real, pumping a body full of formaldehyde is a pretty definitive way to make sure it's not getting up again. The fear of live burial slowly lost its grip on the public imagination, replaced by other, more modern anxieties. But here's the thing. The legacy of the safety coffin is way more than just a weird historical footnote. It's a powerful window into the human psyche. It's not really about coffins or bells. It's about our deepest, most primal fear, the loss of control. The terror of being helpless, of being trapped, of your voice going unheard. That's a fear that is 100% still alive today. We may not worry about being buried alive anymore, but that core anxiety has just shapeshifted. It's the fear of a misdiagnosis from an overworked doctor. It's the panic of being trapped in a situation you can't escape, a dead-end job, a toxic relationship, a financial hole. It's the modern-day version of screaming into the void, feeling like no one can hear you through the noise of social media and a chaotic world. The safety coffin was a physical manifestation of a desperate need for a lifeline, for a way to say, "I'm still here. Don't forget about me." That desire to connect, to be rescued, to have a way out, that's timeless. Those 19th century inventors, in their bizarre and gruesome way, were trying to sell peace of mind. They were selling the idea that even in the face of our greatest unknown, we could still have some control. So the next time you hear the phrase, "saved by the bell," remember it's not just about boxing. It's a ghost of a forgotten panic. A reminder of a time when people were so afraid of the dark, they were willing to be buried with a bell just in case. It's a story about how far human fear can push us to innovate, even when the innovation is, well, completely bonkers. But most of all, it's a story about a fear we all share, the fear of being left in the dark, screaming for someone to listen. If you were fascinated by this deep dive into a forgotten fear, then you have to check out my next video on the history of Victorian morning rituals. It's even weirder and more emotional than this one. We're talking post-mortem photography, seances, and jewelry made from the hair of the deceased. It's a story about how the Victorians dealt with loss, and it's absolutely haunting. The video is right here and it's waiting for you. So go on, click it. And while you're down there, you know what to do. Smash that subscribe button and ring the bell notification. It's the best way to make sure you never miss a video. And in this case, the bell really could save you from missing out. Thanks for watching.